Hey all, this is Chris Hernandez from Houston Combat Photography. I have some time to kill, so I figured I'd make a quick video talking to you about the best 35mm camera ever made. I'm not talking about a Leica or a Contax or anything like that. Obviously, I am referring to the fantastic Argus C3. So, I have seen these for sale all over the place at antique shops, at estate sales, sometimes for as cheap as $5. And I had heard all kinds of things about them, how they were complete cheap pieces of junk. They had plastic lenses. I don't know where that came from. They take terrible pictures. That even at $5 you're getting ripped off. So I never bothered with getting one. Then at an estate sale, I ran across one with accessories for $12.50. And I thought, well, it's period correct for World War II. Why not pick one up and I'll use it as a prop. Then at the next reenactment I was going to shoot, I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and try it. And I expected the pictures to be complete crap. Holy cow, this camera did fantastic. So that kind of begs the question, well, if the camera's that good, then why is it so cheap? It's so cheap because over 2.2 million of them were made in Ann Arbor, Michigan, from the late 30s to the mid 60s. So there's just a whole bunch of them out there, but they are not bad cameras. So for World War II reenactments, one of the reasons that I wanted to use this camera is because Tony Vaccaro, he was a World War II infantryman who snuck his camera with him and became an unofficial combat photographer for his unit. He took some of the most dramatic World War II photos ever taken with an Argus C3, and he developed his film in helmets out in the woods in the middle of the night, using chemicals that he got from bombed out camera shops, stuff like that. He took some incredible photos. So when I tried the Argus, the results I got were pretty friggin' incredible, especially for this cheap of a camera. So here's some of the photos that I took at the National Museum of the Pacific War in Fredericksburg, Texas, back in May. I mean, I was extremely impressed. These were just, it was an awesome camera. It was not difficult to use under stress, and the results speak for themselves. So let's talk a little bit more about the Argus system. This is a standard package. This is, I believe, a late 1940s Argus. It comes with a 50mm lens. This one does not have an accessory shoe on top. Some later C3s did. But this is your basic package right here. It's a big clunky Bakelite and aluminum, I think, machine. Feels very basic and heavy. You could beat someone to death with it if you needed to. But with the accessories and everything, it really is a very capable kit. So the other things that you can get with it, you can get a 100mm telephoto lens. You can see this one right here. You can get a 35mm wide angle. That is also, I haven't had a chance to, I got these lenses, I haven't had a chance to really work them out yet, so I don't know how good they are. I hear they produce very good results. And then you can get some pretty cool other stuff, like, there's no accessory shoe, right? But you have this viewfinder that clips on right here, and you can set it for wide angle, for your 35mm wide angle, or for your 100-meter telephoto. It's just got a mask. So this will help you with, once you do your hyperfocal distancing, or you focus through your rangefinder window, then you just look through here to compose and take your image. It's really freaking cool. Now there's two versions of this viewfinder. One that clips directly, the clip is part of the viewfinder. Then there's this one, which I think is a little bit later, which goes onto a clip-on accessory shoe. Now that gives you the option of using this really cool later model turret viewer. This is typically used with the later model C3s, but you can use it on this one too. And it's got lenses, or it's got viewfinders for the 50 millimeter lens, the 35 millimeter lens, and the 100 millimeter lens. It is just an awesome, fantastic accessory that allows you to quickly switch between lenses. And now talking about switching between lenses. This camera is known as being difficult, challenging to change lenses, and it is not. So I'm about to walk you through a lens change. It's a little more complicated than most cameras, but it's not hard. To change the lens, first thing you do is you set your rangefinder to 3 feet. Then you unscrew this cover, set that aside, remove this gear, set that aside, unscrew your lens. Now change your rangefinder to infinity. Take your other lens, in this case I'm using a 35 millimeter wide angle. You set your lens to infinity as well. I don't know if you can see that. Lens is set to infinity. Now you screw in your lens. Don't cross thread it like I am trying to do right now. Okay, screw that in, double check, make sure you're still at infinity. I'm still at infinity on both. Now I take my gear, set it back in there, screw that cover back on, and now just double check. Yep, I'm at infinity there. Come back over to 3. Am I at 3 on the lens? I'm at 3 on the lens. Okay, so I'm good. That's how easy and quick it is to do a lens change. This one, when you put the standard 50 millimeter back on, this one tends to be a little bit more difficult. What I've had to do every time, I set it to infinity when I screw it back in, but then I have to put it back to 3 feet just to have enough room in here to fit this thing back in, because it's wider than the gear. But anyway, you get the idea. It is not difficult to change lenses with this camera. Okay, so you can see it's lens change is no big deal. Let's talk about some of the other stuff that you can get for this. You can get an ever-ready case for this camera, which is, there's a couple of different versions, but they are big, bulky. The straps generally are deteriorated, so you got to be careful relying on the straps that you hang around your neck. So what I did for the reenactment I shot, I didn't have a case, so I just attached a D-ring down here to the tripod bushing. Attached a D-ring, I hung it on a military general purpose strap. I just let it hang. I didn't worry about beating it up or anything like that. It didn't get hurt at all. That worked just fine. So the other things that you should be aware of with this camera, there are a couple of, not problems, but things just to be aware of. One, I don't know if this is common to all of the Argus cameras or it's just the one I happen to have, but the film counter did not accurately count. So I ran 2 rolls of film through that, through my camera, and one of them showed that I was already at 24 shots when I was only at 17, and the other one showed I was at 24 when I was only at 14. So from now on, I'm not going to worry about the film counter. I'm just going to keep shooting until I can't shoot anymore, and then I'll rewind the film. The other thing is the cocking lever. Now this one, on this camera, and I actually have 2 of them now, I have moved the cocking levers to eliminate this problem, but this is where the cocking lever is when these come out of the factory. So you can see how it sticks out straight to the side. Well, that's a problem, because when you take the picture, you cock the shutter. When you take the picture, the cocking lever moves, and if your finger is in the way, you will interrupt the movement of the shutter and you will cause blur. You'll screw up your picture. That actually happened to me with a couple of shots during the last reenactment, and one of those shots, I actually, not only did I stick my finger in the way, but I also did a double exposure and then blurred it by blocking the shutter cocking lever twice. So I have a blurred double exposure, double blurred double exposure. And the issue is that when you hold this camera, the way people typically hold it, if you have your finger, this finger right here, the way most people would, it's going to be right in the way of the shutter cocking lever unless you move it. Moving it's easy. There's this little, back behind it, there's a little nut. You loosen that nut with needle nose pliers, move, just rotate your cocking hand towards a different position, and then tighten that nut back down. That's all you have to do. So, again, with minor, a little bit of work with some, minor considerations, I guess, you can make this camera into a very, very capable, easy to use, awesome system that is capable of taking some beautiful photos. So if anyone has any questions about it, please let me know. I plan on using this camera a whole lot more, not just for reenactments, but for portraits, for whatever. And I'll probably post some more results later on. That's all I got for now. If anyone has any questions, hit me up. And again, Chris Fernandez with Houston Combat Photography. See y'all later.